Wake up, Atlanta. It's time for coffee. Talk presented by Spotify. Fresh vibes, real talk.
Let's get started, shall we?
Yeah.
Toenail, thing of the five, crazy request like you have any good news, game related or other. I thought this was cool. Let me show you this. Does anyone remember this quest? It's not even really a quest, it's more of an encounter. Does anybody remember this in Cyberpunk? Anybody recall this? Anybody? Takers? Okay. So, sort of spoiler, not even sort of spoilers. So there is a character in Cyberpunk 2077, Meredith. This is a romance guide. I just pulled it up because it has gameplay. I didn't realize what I was showing you. But this is a character. If you play the game, you know who she is. But if you didn't know, there is an outcome where things don't go well for her. I'll put it that way. Okay, things can go sour. And she just kind of disappears from the story at a certain point based on your decisions. If you do that, this is, again, spoiler for what happens if she disappears, and you're wondering what happened to her. You can actually find her body in the water with concrete boots, as they call them, where they've set her feet in concrete and thrown her into the water to sink to the bottom. And when you go down there, there's an actual encounter where Johnny appears, and while you're swimming down there, some dialogue plays out to describe what's happening. Now, the reason I'm showing you this, is because Pavel, who actually designed this quest, had a little bit of insight that he shared on Twitter about it, how this was actually put together, why it works the way that it does, and it's actually pretty interesting. So I figured I would share it with you. And I think that this is a great reminder of how oftentimes restrictions and limitations can actually breed really creative ideas, which is, I think, an important thing to remember with any creative field, is that oftentimes the bumpers on the side of the bowling alleyway lead the ball towards the stuff. Poetic, is it not? Poetic. What he said was the following, quote, "I love packing decals like this into my quests. It often takes time for the players to discover, but the thrill and satisfaction are unforgettable. It shows nobody's safe in Night City. There is always a bigger fish, and the stakes are everywhere." It absolutely does. They are really good at this. The Witcher 3 also, if you remember The Witcher 3, I don't remember her name. What was the name of the lady chained to the rock? Do you know what I'm talking about? Berna, yes. There is a period in The Witcher 3, also spoilers, where a character can basically, you can call her out for doing something bad. I'll keep it vague in case some of you haven't played it. But if you do so, she is basically sentenced to damnation. She's chained to a boulder, and you can actually find her chained to that stone out in the open world. They don't tell you to go there. You don't have to go there, but you can find her chained up there dead if you want to seek it out. You don't have to, but it's just one of those little touches that makes it feel real, that they didn't tell you to go see this, but if you're exploring, you can find her, And so they did the same thing in Cyberpunk with this questline. But what's interesting is here, as you can see, her head is shaved because rigging and animating hair to gently move underwater was out of the available budget. I had to be scrappy with my design, so I turned it into part of the story. The reason she doesn't have hair, like the hair that she had in the actual questline, is not because they decided from the outset that she would have it shaved to humiliate her, but rather because they just couldn't afford to animate the hair underwater. They had a technical limitation and a budgetary restriction. They couldn't spend the time and the resources to do that. And so he took that limitation. We can't animate the hair. Okay, what if we added that and turned it into part of the story? What if we then said that was part of it? As you can see, anthropologically, I like it because shading hair is associated with losing honor, face, and being overshadowed by shame. One of the examples of how limitation sparks creativity. That you have a limitation and it gets the creative juices flowing to, okay, well then how could we explore this? How could we break it down in a way that would make sense and potentially add to the story as well, right? And I just kind of love these touches because you may see it and you think, okay, to shake her head as part of the humiliation ritual because she failed them, blah, blah, blah. But then you find out that no, it was actually the reason we had to do that. We wanted the hair. But the reason we did that is because we didn't have the budget to do it. And it ends up adding to the story. It makes it even darker that they took the extra time to shave her head as part of this, And it's just one of those things. And I think it's one of the reasons why I think gaining and most creative outlets don't always excel when you just have a totally open runway.
Let's see, Go losing in the FOD. Do you think maybe getting rid of physical is to try and keep the PS5 or PlayStation 6 cost lower? The way things are going, why do you think these execs think the PlayStation 6 will sell? Well, what's been happening in all of I mean, this is not just gaming, this is all of like financial markets in general. Every industry is kind of like this. Normally, spending on anything, okay? If we say like this is overall spending, normally, I don't know what it breaks down to, but maybe something like this, okay? So you imagine the spending on things, this lower chunk, the white chunk, are people that make less than 100,000 a year. They make up like 60-70% of total spending in a given industry, okay? I don't know if these numbers are exactly around, ballparking, okay? What's been happening in the last like 2 to 3 years is that spending is actually staying about what it was. Okay, the total spending is about the same, but the number of people spending money that are making under 100K is significantly lower, but the people that are making over that, the people who have, are spending a lot more. So the people who, the haves and the have-nots, the haves are spending way more than they used to, but the have-nots are tightening their belts and being more frugal. And in the gaming space, the comparison would basically be the people that are spending money and that have money are buying the 5090s or buying the 5080s or buying the Steam machine or buying the PlayStation 6 or PlayStation 5 Pro, are buying like the expensive RAM upgrades. They're still spending hundreds or thousands on various things. But the people who are budget aware and budget conscious and maybe don't make as much, they are just not buying. They're just out of the market. They're skipping the PlayStation 5 Pro. They're skipping the Steam machine. What I think like these console manufacturers are relying on is that the haves, these people, are going to make up the difference. So they'll launch the PlayStation 6 at 1,000 or at 1,200 or whatever it is. And they're just hoping that the people who have expendable income and have money are going to spend all of it and make up the difference. And the reason they also hope that is because the people who have money, they can afford maybe 2 or 3 games at launch instead of just one, if you're more budget conscious. Even back here, if you go back like 2016, you might buy 1 or 2 games at launch, but the people who have a lot more money, they might be buying 3, 4, or 5 games. You know, they might be signing up for this membership, for this online subscription, they use accessories. You know, the people who have money, their ticket sizes are going to be a lot bigger. So I think that that's mainly why you're seeing it being pushed through. They just think that the people who have money are going to spend a lot more of it than is being lost from the people that don't have money. I personally don't think that's how that works. Because if you have 10 million people buying something at 500, but only 1 million buying it at 1,000, the math doesn't math at some point, you know, like you're actually losing out. But who knows what they're doing? I think they're actively figuring it out as they go along. It also, realistically, I don't think they're going to manufacture very many at all at launch. Like, I really think you're going to have PlayStation 6s selling out everywhere, Project Helix is selling out everywhere, and it's all going to be scalped to hell and back, and that's just how it's going to be, because I think they're going to manufacture like 100,000 of them, and they'll just wait to manufacture more until costs go down. But they're going to launch it officially and just ease their way into it. I think that's probably what's going to happen. How are they going to continue monetizing off of live service if they're pricing out a significant chunk of their player base off their platform? Well, that's the thing. I don't think you'll see any live service games that are going to be like PlayStation 6 exclusive, at least not well into the 2030s. Every live service, anything that they do is going to be cross-generational. I think any AAA thing they do is going to be cross-generational because they know basically nobody's going to be buying into that. Like, one of the sneaky ways that they could also benefit from this is when they get people moving from the PlayStation 5 to the PlayStation 6, they also could see a flood of used hardware going back in. One of the sneaky ways they might be doing this is to get people to buy the PlayStation 6. They offer a trade-in program where you ship in your PS5, they take it, refurbish it a little bit, you know, fresh paint, fresh side panels, whatever, and then they sell it back to people refurbished for like $500 or $399 or whatever it is. And then that allows people to still buy PS5s and increase the total user base, even if it means that they're not buying into the PlayStation 6. You know, it's literally the Don Natrick. If you don't have money, we have another product for you. It's called the PlayStation 5. They're literally doing that. But I think that that's probably part of the strategy as well. But could Xbox have, or a part of, a comeback if they will keep supporting physical discs next gen? There's a lot of people from PS6 now. what I always try to remind people is that Twitter isn't real, for one. And the vast, vast, vast majority of gamers are not tuned in to online gaming discourse. Sure, I guess it depends on how you define gamer, but the vast, vast, vast majority of gamers, if you're counting Call of Duty gamers, Fortnite gamers, you know, those types, playing more casual like Rocket League, that type of thing, they are not following Wario64. They are not following me. They're not following, you know, IGN discussions or Destin or whatever. They are just playing their games. And for them, they're playing games that they have not bought physically ever, or if not ever, like not in a very, very long time. I think if you look at the whole market, 99, literally it could be close to 99% of players, their purchasing decision for the PlayStation 6 is not going to be affected by disk drive or no disk drive. I think it's going to be affected by price. I think it's going to be affected by availability, stuff like that. But I don't think the disk drive is going to be a selling point for them. The physical media talking point is a hardcore gamer talking point. It's not a mainstream thing, which is what they're relying on. It's what I said in the video we did yesterday. Apathy is the secret weapon for slowly taking, you know, consumer freedoms away and consumer rights away from them. Because if you start with one thing where it's like, it's not that big of a deal, I guess, but then it's one more thing, and then one more thing. And little by little, it doesn't seem like a big deal. It's like taking a rock out of the rock bed at your neighbor's house. You take one rock, it's not a big deal. You do that 5 times, not a big deal. 10 times, okay, maybe there's going to be a little empty patch in the rock bed, but not a big deal. You do 100 times, oh my God, yeah, like a whole thing. You do 1,000 times, 10,000 times, all of a sudden all the rocks are gone. You know, and it can make a difference. Boiling the frog, exactly. So I think it's a hardcore gaming talking point. The average consumer isn't going to care, but that's why the hardcore gamers need to take it upon themselves to like push for things like Stop Killing Games. They need to push for, and I'm not saying that Stop Killing Games has the perfect solution in their current write-up. I don't think they would say that either. But the point is, by starting that conversation, by beginning the process of regulating some of these things, you can make the world a better place. It's what always baffles me when people are like, well, that's just not how it works. I'm like, I agree. Right now, the way it works is that they can revoke your game that you purchased. They can just say, hey, we're taking the license away from you. There's nothing you can do. You gave us money. You bought it. We took it away. Yes, that's the way it currently works. It doesn't have to be that way, though. That's my point. You can make it better. You can fix it. You can go in there, get it regulated, get it like protected, and protect consumer rights and interests. You can do that. You just have to try. You know, you just have to try. But some people are just like, well, this is just not how it works. Yeah, but it doesn't have to work that way. That's the point. That apathy, that vibe of like, like that is what they rely on, is people just being like, yeah, I don't like it, but like that's what they want. Anyway, could Xbox be part of a big comeback if they keep pushing physical discs next gen? I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Apparently Xbox is going to get rid of the disc drive as well, but they are entertaining and actively testing a program that will allow disc to digital, which basically means that you could take a disc from the Xbox One or Xbox Series generation, put it in your console, and it will add it to your digital library, so that you can play it in the future. So it's not like totally useless or whatever. They're apparently entertaining that, which would be cool. That is a cool feature. But I think that it's just too late. And the disc drives, Blu-rays, the other thing is, like, for one manufacturer like Xbox or one platform to do it, and not the other, I think most third-party publishers like an EA would just stick to digital only. I don't think that they would bother with printing discs if it's only going to be usable on one platform. So I think that this is kind of a death knell. What is going to be interesting is what Nintendo does, because Nintendo could go either which way. They could keep physical media. I think they absolutely should, obviously, but it's going to be interesting to see if they bother with anything. You know, do they get rid of the little SD cards, or do they keep them? Because Nintendo has a big collector's market. I mean, at least this is anecdotal, but I feel like this is what I've seen. There's a lot more Nintendo physical media collectors than there are like Xbox physical media collectors that I've at least encountered. I don't think you mess around with Nintendo hardcore fanboys, you know, like I don't think you mess around with those. Be generous. I don't agree with getting rid of physical, but do people not realize physical copies can still be something you technically don't own if they use the DRM, unless I'm missing part of how it works.
Okay, so here's something to think about. The latest episode of House of the Dragon didn't have the massive battle spectacle we saw in the season 3 premiere, but somehow it felt more impactful.
Oh, I completely agree. It's interesting how an episode with less action can sometimes carry more emotional weight. What stood out to you the most?
Honestly, it was the aftermath of the Battle of the Gullet. The premiere had all the makings of a grand spectacle, but this week's episode made me realize how much it lacked in terms of emotional stakes.
That's a great point. The battle itself felt hollow, like it was missing the personal connections that make these moments resonate.
Exactly. Take Lord Corlys Valyrian's scene on the beach, for example. So he delivers that iconic line from the book, "If this be victory, I pray I never win another." But the way it's presented in the show feels awkward, almost like it's missing context.
Right. It's as if the line is hanging in the air without anything to anchor it. If Alan had said something to prompt Corlys, like, "At least we were victorious," it would have given the moment more weight.
And beyond the delivery, the entire aftermath of the battle feels emotionally flat. We're told about the devastation, but we don't really see it.
That's the thing. We don't witness the pillaging of High Tide or the suffering on Driftmark firsthand. Without those visuals, it's hard to feel the impact of what's been lost.
And the characters involved, most of them come out unscathed. Sure, Jace dies and we lose a dragon, but even those losses don't hit as hard as they should.
Jace's death in particular feels like a missed opportunity. Instead of being portrayed as a noble and brave prince, he comes across as reckless, charging into danger without much thought.
Compare that to the Battle of Blackwater in Game of Thrones. That was a masterclass in how to weave character-driven stakes into a massive battle sequence.
Oh, absolutely. Blackwater had so many characters we cared about, each with their own motivations and fears. Joffrey's cowardice, Tyrion's bravery, Sansa's vulnerability. It all came together to create a deeply engaging narrative.
And the stakes were crystal clear. If Stannis won, it would have massive consequences for every major character. It wasn't just about the action, it was about the ripple effects.
Exactly. But here in the Battle of the Gullet, the stakes feel vague. The characters involved don't have enough depth to make us care about the outcome.
And then there's Lohar, the pirate girl boss. She's essentially a less compelling version of Euron Greyjoy, with even less backstory or justification for her abilities.
Lohar was such a missed opportunity. She's introduced, given way too much importance, and then killed off in the span of an episode. It's hard to take her seriously as a villain.
Exactly. And her death doesn't feel like a victory because we're not invested in her as a character. She's just there.
That's a recurring issue with this show. It introduces characters and plot lines, but doesn't always give them the depth they need to resonate.
Fortunately, the rest of the episode was much stronger. Let's talk about Sir Simon Strong.
Oh, Sir Simon. He was such a delightful character, a rare bit of comic relief in a show that's often so heavy.
His interactions with Daemon last season were hilarious, especially when he shushed him. But his charm didn't prepare him for Aemon One-Eye.
Aemon's attack on Harrenhal was brutal. He's so different from Daemon in that way. Daemon can be cruel, but he's not needlessly violent. Aemon, on the other hand, always seems like he has something to prove.
And poor Sir Simon pays the price. His attempts to placate Aemon fall flat, and he ends up dead along with his sons.
That scene was heartbreaking, but it also set the stage for Aemon's growing ruthlessness. And then there's Alice Rivers. Her appearance at the end of that sequence was intriguing.
Definitely. Aemon's plea for her help adds another layer to their dynamic. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Meanwhile, Kristen Cole and Gwaine are cautiously making their way through the Riverlands, and Laris and Egan have their own little adventure.
I have to say I'm enjoying Aegon's arc more than I expected. He's not a good person, but there's something oddly relatable about him in his current state.
Agreed. His road trip with Laris has been surprisingly compelling. Egan's desperation and humanity are starting to shine through, even if he's still deeply flawed.
And then we have Rhaenyra's grief over Jace's death. Emma Darcy absolutely nailed those scenes.
Oh, she was phenomenal. You could feel Rhaenyra's anguish and rage. Her confrontation with Daemon was so intense.
But then they brought back the prophecy and it just felt unnecessary.
I know. The prophecy worked well in season 1 when it set up Alicent's misunderstanding of Viserys' words. But now it feels like a distraction from the main story.
Exactly. The focus should be on the characters and their choices, not on some vague prophecy about the future.
Speaking of choices, Alicent's plan to secure the Red Keep was fascinating.
It was, but her storyline still feels a bit messy. The confrontation with Lord Jasper Wilde was particularly disturbing.
That scene was hard to watch, but it did highlight the dangers Alicent faces as a woman in a position of power.
And then there's the climactic moment when Rhaenyra takes the throne. Her execution of Otto Hightower was brutal, but it showed just how much she's changed.
Emma Darcy's performance in that scene was incredible. You could see the turmoil on Rhaenyra's face as she struggled with her decision.
And now with Alicent and Helena walking in to find Otto's body, the stage is set for even more conflict.
It's a fascinating setup for the rest of the season. Rhaenyra's reign is off to a rocky start, and it's clear that her personal vendettas are going to play a big role in what happens next.
Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown, indeed.
Well said. So, what are your final thoughts on the episode?
It had its flaws, especially with the battle and its aftermath, but the character-driven moments were strong enough to carry it.
I agree. The emotional beats and performances really stood out, even if some of the storytelling choices left me scratching my head.
Here's hoping the rest of the season builds on the strengths of this episode and avoids the pitfalls of the premiere.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see where the story goes from here.
This has been Coffee Talk, presented by Spotify. From our cast, we thank you for listening.
Yeah.